How strange.
Please forget the lateness of the hour.
Something wicked this way comes.
This is the Nighttime Blues.
Spooky. Cowards better than you think.
And now, with your permission.
Good evening, dear listener, and welcome to the Nighttime Blues, a show about songs, stories, and the strange edges of the nighttime. I'm your host, Collin Marx, and tonight we are walking. Walking on sunshine, walking after midnight, walking on the wild side. Walking in boots that were specifically made for walking. And walking is a favorite topic of the songwriter, and it's really no surprise when you think about it. Musicians do a lot of walking, and have done a lot of walking throughout history. But music and walking are even closer than that, I would say. They've always seemed very close to me for reasons I'm not even sure I can fully articulate. I mean, obviously, there is the creative aspect. The way a good walk can clear your head and your heart and make room for new ideas or find solutions to problems that may have been eating at you. Many a musical idea or fragment or riff or lyric or even full song has come to me while walking. It's amazing, you leave the house with nothing or maybe too much. And somewhere along the way, the mind begins to loosen up. The thing you have been trying to force suddenly arrives when you stop trying. One must always walk with a notebook or a notes app or something. A recording device is handy too. There are plenty of little voice memos on my phone that will stay hidden and are embarrassing, but you never know when you're going to strike gold. You know, Nietzsche once wrote, "All truly great thoughts are conceived while walking." And I think he was onto something.
One of these days, these boots are gonna walk all over you. Yeah.
Lots of folks have realized that was Crispin Glover, by the way. Marty McFly's dad. You know. I know you were wondering. Anyway, lots of folks have realized the power of walking throughout history. It was said that Aristotle walked around while lecturing his students. The Japanese poet Basho walked throughout Japan as he refined the form we now know as the haiku. And walking is featured heavily into the routines of plenty of musicians, too. Eric Satie lived just outside of Paris and daily would walk the roughly 6 miles into the city center. And he would spend the day writing a little, drinking a little, hanging with friends, playing piano in cafes or whatever, doing whatever it was that he did all day. And then, by many accounts, if he missed the last train, which he often would, he would just walk the whole way home again. Talk about getting your steps in. And Beethoven was also known as a big walking guy. And every day after lunch, he would go on a long, brisk walk. And some days he would devote entirely to walking, exploring the countryside and mountains around Vienna. He would carry a paper and pencil with him and write down musical ideas as they arrived. His Sixth Symphony known as the Pastoral Symphony, grew from his love of the countryside and the natural world. And it's inspired by flowing water and birds and thunderstorms. And Beethoven himself made clear it was not supposed to be like a literal painting of nature. It was more supposed to evoke the feeling that nature created within him. But those feelings came, at least in part, from walking through it. So a lot of artists utilize walking to make art. But others have even made the walk itself become the art. The performance artist Marina Abramović once walked across the Great Wall of China. She began near the Yellow Sea, and her creative and romantic partner, Ule, began on the opposite side, near the Gobi Desert. And the original plan, conceived years earlier, was for them to meet in the middle and then get married. But it took nearly 8 years to get permission to do this from the Chinese government, and by the time it happened, their relationship was ending. And still, they went through with the walk. It took them about 90 days. So for 3 months, they moved toward one another from opposite ends of the wall, walking 2,000 kilometers plus. And every day brought them a little bit closer together and a little closer to the end. And when they finally met in the middle, they embraced and said goodbye. You know, a lot of people balk at this performance art. And sometimes for a good reason. It could seem kind of gimmicky or silly, at least on the surface. But this was no gimmick. This was a real pilgrimage, a ritual. They walked for the same reason mystics walk into the desert. You leave your old life behind and you walk into the new one. Walking can do that. It could bring your mind and your body and your soul into harmony. Now, this walk did not erase everything between Abramović and Ule. Their separation was difficult, and the years afterward had a lot of arguments about money and credit and stuff like that. But the walk gave them a place to end. They both got to confront the end of that part of their life on their own terms. And they did eventually make peace before Ule died in 2020. So maybe the walk didn't heal them all at once, but it did help facilitate the process. And that is the power of a good walk.
I walk the shopping malls. I start where I park my car. I get out of the car and I close the door and I do some warm-ups, you know. Some people may think this is silly, but I really don't. I want to tell you that it really helps keep me in shape. Why, I used to walk with the Sierra Club, and the Sierra Club walked in all of the parts around Los Angeles and everything, but they walked in the rain. And then I read an article in a magazine. I don't remember which magazine, but I read an article about people who are allowed in the shopping malls, like at 7 o'clock in the morning, before they come to work. And they get in and they walk and walk and walk and walk and walk. And so I joined that. So I became a happy walker girl. And I even made up a song. I am a happy walker girl. I love to hike the malls. And as I go, I love to stop and shop and shop and shop. You know how good. Velverie, Velvera. See, I have a lot of lung power. Velverie, Velvera, ha, 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 Velverie, Velvera. I love to stop and shop. And the combination of both makes me feel better. It makes me feel wonderful. And it's not silly. It's wonderful. It's something that you can do for yourself. And if you're a modern woman, this is what you want to do for yourself. You can get out there, get on your own, take your own money that you earn each and every day, and go out and shop and get healthy while you're doing it.
So maybe your walk is going to be epic across the Great Wall of China, or I suppose the mall for that lady. But most of the time, you're just walking around your neighborhood. Maybe you're trying to get somewhere. Maybe you just need to get some air. Maybe you've been sitting inside too long and can feel your brain turning into mush. But an ordinary walk can change the way you pay attention. Walking has this musicality to it. You know, the most obvious thing is the rhythm, the pulse of the walk, the repetition. You can control the tempo. You might find yourself walking in time with a song in your head or whatever you're listening to. And there are sounds all around you. Birds, trees, cars moving down the street, somebody dragging a trash can across pavement, a dog barking behind a fence, the faint sound of music blasting from a car stopped at a stoplight. Your own footsteps change depending on the surface beneath you. Concrete, gravel, grass, dirt. We tend to think of walking as a visual activity, and we can look at houses and trees and people, but a place sounds like something too. And if you start paying attention to that, you begin to realize how much we ignore. There is a name for the deliberate practice of walking and listening. It's called soundwalking. People have always walked and listened, obviously. I mean, nobody invented that. But in the early 1970s, the composer Hildegard Westerkamp helped develop soundwalking into a more deliberate practice. Westerkamp was working in Vancouver with the composer and all-around sound guy R. Murray Schafer, and a group called the World Soundscape Project. They studied what they called the soundscape, meaning the whole acoustic environment of a place. That could be traffic, weather, animals, machines, voices, anything that can be heard. They recorded cities and rural areas. They made maps. They studied how sounds changed from one area to the next and how the introduction of, say, a new factory or a new road changed the auditory experience of living in a place. And this developed a field known as acoustic ecology. Westerkamp described a soundwalk as any excursion whose main purpose is listening to the environment. And that's the basic idea. And what a great idea. You choose a route and you walk it with listening as the main activity. The soundwalk can happen alone or with a group. It can last 5 minutes or a couple hours. You can go miles, you can go around the block. There's no special designation or destination. You can soundwalk through a forest or through the mall or just in your own neighborhood. Usually, you leave the headphones at home. Perhaps you are listening to this show in your headphones on a walk at this very moment. And I thank you for that. But sometimes it's good to open up your ears and clear your head and get outside and listen. And there are a few useful ways to begin. Listen to the closest sound you can hear. Maybe it's your breathing, the way your coat is moving, your footsteps on the pavement, or on the gravel, or on the wooden planks of a dock. Maybe try listening to the most distant sound you can hear. An airplane 30,000 feet in the sky, a train, a siren several blocks away. Listen for sounds that continue without stopping. Maybe like the hum of an electrical transformer, or just traffic in the distance, the wind through the trees, through each tree. Then listen for the sounds that interrupt them. A car horn, dog barking, the gosh dang leaf blowers even. Notice which sounds demand your attention and which ones fade into the background. Now, R. Murray Schafer called some of these background sounds keynote sounds. They are present so often that people living around them barely notice them anymore. So like the highway, the ocean, cicadas in the summer, or maybe like the steady machinery of a factory. And then there are signals, and these are sounds that are meant to be noticed. These are things like sirens, alarms, crosswalk signals, school bells, car horns, a train whistle approaching a crossing. A signal carries information. It tells you what to do. It tells you to pay attention to something.
Wait.
And so you just hear how many of these you may encounter as you listen through the world on your walk. Perhaps you will encounter what they dubbed a sound mark. A sound mark is the acoustic equivalent of a landmark. It is a sound that belongs to a particular place and helps make that place recognizable. A church bell can be a sound mark. The sound of the bell is just as much a part of the environment and the soundscape as the church itself is to the landscape. So can a factory whistle, or a particular train line, or a flock of starlings that gather in the same trees every evening. So as you walk, thinking in these terms of keynote sounds and signals and sound marks, they can give you a way into the soundscape, and maybe you begin to hear the sounds around you in a different way. To quote R. Murray Schafer, a soundscape is any collection of sounds, almost like a painting is a collection of visual attractions. So maybe move through your environment like you would look at a painting. Soak it all in. Enjoy it. Here is the one and only Mary Oliver. One of my favorite poems about walking.
You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over announcing your place in the family of things.
Australian Aboriginal cosmologies, the world was sung into existence by ancient beings. This idea is more common around the world than you may realize. In Australia, this creation time is often called the dreaming or the dream time. It's not a perfect translation. There are hundreds of Aboriginal peoples across Australia with different languages and traditions and ways of understanding the world. So I don't want to generalize, and anything I say here is going to be very broad strokes. There's no single cosmology for shared by everybody, but throughout many of these traditions, it is said that ancestral beings walked across the landscape during the dream time, and as they walked, they sang the world into existence. They sang the mountains, and they sang the rivers, and the desert, and the animals, and the people. Everything. It's said that some of the ancestors disappeared into the earth at the end of their travels, and some became rocks, or hills, or bodies of water. Others took their place among the stars. And their routes across the land are remembered through songs. These routes are sometimes called song lines. The song line can be a path through the landscape, but it's more complicated than a path. It is a path that carries a story, along with knowledge of the places that are being passed through. It can contain, history or kinship or ceremony, laws, where to find water, the proper way to move through a particular place. The songlines are part map, part oral history, and part song. Some songlines cover a fairly small area, and others travel enormous distances and will pass through the country of several different peoples. A person might know one part of the songline intimately, while another community knows the next part. The story continues across changes in language and landscape and people. And a traveler who knows the song can follow its sequence across the land. The verses may refer to watering holes or trees or bends in the river, certain rock formations or mountains or places where food can be found, places that should be approached carefully or places that should be avoided altogether. You sing one part of the song and reach the place it describes and then continue to the next part. And one can sing the song and walk the path, and the song tells you the path, but the path also tells you the song. A certain rock lets you know where you are in the music, or a turn in the river brings you to the next verse. The hill on the horizon will tell you what is coming next. You're following a route through the land and a route through the song at the same time. The walk helps keep the sequence in order. The landscape becomes part of the memory. Instead of trying to remember a huge amount of information, the knowledge, the song is attached to the places. When you reach one place, it reminds you of the next part of the story that's connected to it. The world around you, the landscape, becomes a kind of memory palace. And there's practical knowledge here. Knowing where to find water in the Australian desert can be the difference between life and death. It's very helpful to know, knowledge of the seasons, of different plants, animals, weather, and the night sky. And there's social knowledge here as well. You want to know whose land you're in, what kind of community you're in, what responsibilities you may have there, and how to travel respectfully. Songlines crossing several language regions may include different languages along the way. Knowing the appropriate section has sometimes been described as like a cultural passport. It can show that the traveler knows where they are, whose land they are moving through, and how they're expected to behave. Some songlines even continue into the sky. Stars can correspond with places on the ground and help a traveler remember direction or a sequence. Bruce Chatwin writes about this in his book The Songlines, published in 1987. It's an interesting book, part notebook, part philosophy, part travel memoir of his time in the Australian outback. He says that somebody could hear part of a song from another language and still recognize what kind of landscape it described. So according to Chatwin, the melodic shapes of the song followed the contour of the land. A difficult stretch of country might have a specific rhythm to it. A climb might change the shape of the melody. The music can move differently across open desert than it did over hills. Chatwin presents this as though the land has been translated directly into music, and I don't know if that's 100% true. Chatwin's not the most reliable authority, but it is a beautiful part of the story. The possibility that someone could hear the shape of the land in a melody. And even without taking it literally, the rhythm of the body has to be involved. You are remembering the song while walking the distance. Your feet are providing a certain kind of pulse depending on where you are. The song moves because the person singing it moves. There are Aboriginal oral traditions describing land that can no longer be walked because it is now beneath the sea. I mean, some of them talk about coastlines that don't exist or islands that have been swallowed up by the sea. Researchers have collected stories from around the Australian coast and compared them with what is known about rising sea levels after the last ice age. And in many cases, the places described would have disappeared more than 7,000 years ago. So that doesn't mean every old story should be treated like a scientific report, but some of these stories appear to preserve memories of a landscape that hasn't existed for thousands of years. A song can carry information for a very long time when it belongs to a place and people who continue to return to that place. Bruce Chatwin helped introduce the idea of songlines to a larger audience outside of Australia, including me. Like I said, The Songlines is an interesting book. The book ends up becoming about Chatwin's obsession with walking. He begins to wonder whether human beings are naturally nomadic, whether the settled life that we all live is a fairly recent arrangement that does not entirely agree with us. He collects stories about migration and pilgrims and shepherds and wandering saints and animals following ancient routes. He talks about how we carry crying babies back and forth to settle them. The movement, the rhythm calms them because it speaks to a deep part of the human condition. A baby in motion was close to another human body and traveling and walking with the group. Chatwin takes ideas like this and runs a long way with them. And it's convincing, and it's also a lot of speculation, but his understanding of Aboriginal culture has been heavily criticized. His book should not be treated as a dependable explanation of Aboriginal beliefs. But the question at the center of the book is interesting. I mean, how much of human culture begins with people moving on foot? Walking gives the body a rhythm. It creates a pace for singing, chanting, reciting, remembering. A song can measure the distance between places. The songlines are just an incredible example of walking and music joined together. You sing the song and you walk the path, and the song tells you the path, and the path tells you the song. Well, folks, that's our show for tonight. I hope you can get a good walk in soon. And if you like what you hear and you want to know more, you know where to find me. CollinMarx.net or just at the link in the show notes. So, wherever you are, in the city, or out in the sticks, or in the space in between, I hope the nighttime treats you kindly. This is Collin Marx, and you've been listening to the Nighttime Blues.
The Nighttime Blues is written, produced, and scored by Collin Marx. To explore more, visit CollinMarx.net. This broadcast is best listened to after